Should you buy the ROTHENBERGER SUPERFIRE PRO or should you pass on it? You'll be able to make that decision by the end of this video.
I'm the old man behind SRV and I do all sorts.
Can you hear it? Stay quiet, listen. They're calling out for me. Who? SRV.
The SUPERFIRE Pro. Not exactly. This is a SUPERFIRE Pro improved version. Now, as you can tell, that's an old one, that's a new one. And nothing has really changed on the outside of the blowtorch. ROTHENBERGER made improvements or adjustments on the internal mechanisms in order for it to work with the gas pressures in the UK. So let's get stuck in on the long-awaited review of the ROTHENBERGER SUPERFIRE Pro. Let me just start by saying that I've been holding back on this review because I wanted to test the torch to its maximum capabilities. I wanted to make sure that all the issues that I found with this torch had been resolved once and for all. In November 2024, I put out a video highlighting all the problems that I found with the ROTHENBERGER SUPERFIRE Pro and followed it through by contacting ROTHENBERGER and letting them know about the issues I found. Now, I got the ROTHENBERGER SUPERFIRE Pro quite early in its release so that I could test it, review it, and give my honest opinion on its functionality and if it was worth getting. To be quite honest with you, I was really looking forward to getting my hands on this torch. I was excited. A compact, robust, well-built torch with 8 interchangeable burner tips. That was a no-brainer. I had to get one. So I put it to the test the very next day, and the results? Well, you can actually watch my video and find out for yourself. Let's just say it wasn't good. But credit to ROTHENBERGER, because as soon as I contacted them, they actually took my findings quite serious. And they made the decision to recall most of the blowtorches and started working on resolving those issues. Now, I did have to wait quite a few months to get the updated version of the SUPERFIRE Pro, which I actually collected at the installer show in 2025, along with other bits that they gave me to review. And may I say, assurances that all the issues had been resolved. But a few months after installer show, I was getting messages of people about the blowtorch, ones that they bought, and they were experiencing the same issues that I pointed out on the original video. So that gave me a bit of concern. Now, I put it down to maybe there was a few of the blowtorches that didn't get recalled and they still got sold by third-party dealers. That's one of the biggest reasons why I held back on this video. Not only to establish my personal opinion, but also to see what goes on in the market and what people are saying about the blowtorch. Now, since the installer show, I've been using the blowtorch on and off, and I've been scrutinizing it and weighing up the pros and cons of the blowtorch, its concept, usability. I guess I was just trying to find faults. I was trying to establish the pros and cons of the blowtorch just to make sure that I can justify my opinion of this torch. And I guess now the time comes for me to safely say what I think. But before I do, let's go through the torch and some of its components. A lot of people think that this blowtorch is made of plastic. The whole body of the blowtorch is made of die-cast zinc. It's quite solid. The only plastic components on this blowtorch is the igniter trigger and the lock-off button. It does look plasticky when you see it online or in photos, but it's solid die-cast zinc. I don't really know the idea behind having the whole body in metal and the trigger and the lock-off button in plastic, but I guess it's soft on your finger, keeps weight down. That's what I think. Now, I got 3 of the 8 burner tips that this blowtorch can use. I've got the standard Cyclone. Now, it does tell you there, it's got the name of it, and it's quite important because late in the video there's a specific piece of information that we're actually going to refer to. So the standard Cyclone tip features a swirl flame that efficiently wraps around the pipe for nice even heat distribution. And the way it attaches is quite simple because you just insert it into your blowtorch body and you just give it a quarter turn like that. Let's have a look at the flame on that. And then I've got the cool tip. It's meant to keep this tip cool when operating at its maximum adjustment. Now the cool tip is smaller than the standard cyclone tip, as you can see. It is also black, and you just insert it exactly the same way. Locate that pin or that little groove, push it in, quarter turn, and that's done. Let's have a look at the flame on this one. And then last but not least, I've got the pinpoint, which is a fine flame. The pinpoint, and that goes in exactly the same way. Just locate that little groove, press it in, and quarter turn. Let's have a look at the flame on this one. And then if you adjust it right down, there you go. That's a tiny little tip. Now I would say that tip there is absolutely brilliant for hobbyist jeweler. Personally, I think that these 3 burner tips are the best ones, but that's my personal opinion. So if you want to check out the specs on the other burners and what they do, then you'll be looking for the high output cyclone burner, the regular flame burner, the hot air burner, and the soft flame burner. And if you search them online, you can find good descriptions on their uses, functionality, and what they're all about, so that you can decide which ones you actually want. Now, the body of the blowtorch is really well built, but this is where I found most of the issues. My very first dislike is the lock button, that one there, which is located on the side of the blowtorch, just above, set back from your trigger. I think it's quite unnatural and in a very awkward position. I can't seem to hold the trigger button and press the lock off button naturally with my thumb. It's just slightly out of reach and in an awkward position. Maybe I've got short thumbs or small hands, I don't know. The second and most alarming fault I found with this blowtorch, that's actually a fault with the internal mechanism of this blowtorch, not the tips itself, is misfiring. Number one, that trigger, you have to press it quite a few times. Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes you can press it 20 times and it will not fire up. And then the inconsistent flame on it. So you will light it up, lock it off, it will have a nice consistent flame, and all of a sudden that flame will just woof out like that and back on itself multiple times, and you cannot solder it, especially when you're holding it in a certain position from underneath or something like that. So that was quite alarming for me. There was quite a few incidents where I was successful in getting it ignited the first time, and then I would solder a fitting, and then as I finished soldering the fitting, I'll switch it off, put the blowtorch down, pick it up again to solder another fitting, and I'll be igniting it all the time and it just would not ignite. I'm not pressing that igniter button without having one of the tips inserted, because there's like crystal or something like that inside and it buggers that up. So don't press that trigger button without having one of the tips inserted. Word of warning there. So the inconsistency on the flame and that burst of flame, that was the most concerning part of this blowtorch, and that was the biggest reason why I decided to make the video and contact Rothenberger about it, because I thought it was just unreliable, unsafe, and untrustworthy to use that blowtorch. So what is my final verdict on the Rothenberger Superfire Pro, and should you invest in one of them? I think the one thing that kept me invested in the Rothenberger Superfire Pro was Rothenberger's commitment into resolving the issues. They didn't fob me off. They actually listened to what I had to say, and they made a decision to recall most of these units, if not all of them, really early in its stage of release, after they heard what I had to say. And I can happily say that Rothenberger has resolved the issues with this blowtorch. They sorted out the problem with the ignition, and they sorted out the problem with the flame. However, that annoying locker button unfortunately still remains in the same position. But that's something that I just got used to over the past couple of months, so it's not that much of a big deal to me. But before you go out and buy the Rothenberger Superfire Pro, there's a few things I need to make you aware of, and one of them is really important, and it's got to do with the cool tip. The cool tip is not safe to regard as cool enough to touch. And going back to the information that Rothenberger prints on their tips, it clearly states, hard surface, do not touch. And if you've got small hands, you might find it quite awkward to click that trigger and the lock button one-handedly. But overall, yes, it is a good torch. Yes, the issues have been resolved. And yes, I would recommend it. But is it the best torch for plumbers? That one's debatable. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it answered all the questions you had about the Rothenberger Superfire Pro. If not, then ask a question down below and I'll answer as best as I can. If you like what you see, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell for future videos that are coming out. I will be doing more reviews on other gear. I've got something else from Rothenberger that I still got to put a review out. Check out for that one. But all the best, have a cracking weekend and see you on the next one.